Okay, now we are recording. Well, welcome Clickjacking Unit 13. And again, Unit 13 was moved and material on how does security flaws get into software has moved to next week and the week after. Okay, and again, reminder that the week before Thanksgiving, there'll be online only. There'll be no in-class course. Okay. Okay, there's a review of what we're going to cover, and we'll just go right into it. Okay, today we're talking about clickjacking, yet another threat to software on the web. Clickjacking has multiple names, user interface redress, and several others. But basically, the concept is that by putting one website on top of another on the web drive, you can fool the user into clicking on a attacker's website, clicking their links, and thereby directing the user to a site where they don't want to go, doing something that they do not wish to do, even though it looks like they're using a trusted website. In fact, they are clicking on an attacker's website. And it's done by aligning things and making things transparent. I've got an example that I'll run in a minute. Most of it uses the concept of an iframe. An iframe is a rectangular object in the web in which you could embed another web page. And by embedding multiple web pages on the visible page, some of which are visible and some of which are not visible, you can overlay these such that when you go to click on something, you're not clicking on what you think you're clicking. Here's an example that I wrote, and we'll look at it in just a minute. Okay, the web page is down there at the bottom, at least a couple lines of it. You'll notice that there is a hyperlink. That's the A at the bottom, and not A. The href to joy.html. Click here for joy. And then there's the style. Notice the style. Well, let's just take a look at this thing and see what it really looks like. I'm going to try just sharing screen with everybody, so everybody will see this, hopefully. Yes, this is my web page. Okay, it's really simple. It's got a statement and a let's make this even bigger. Okay, now you can see it. It says click here for joy. Great big link. And we click there and it goes, oh, wonderful. We have gone to the joyous website. Just what we wanted to do. Okay. And again, that if we look in the code for that website, it is exactly what you see here with the PowerPoint slide. The style on the left. Hopefully you can see that. The style on the left is.
Yes, we can.
Can you see the victim web page there?
Yes, we can see the PowerPoint. Yep.
Okay, I'll drop out of this in just a minute as I go run another one. But you can see things that indicates that there's this big red square in the upper left-hand corner at a particular position, particular size, and the text is in it. It's all the style and position absolutely. So it puts it in one specific spot. Okay, then there is an attacker web page, which also has a style. It's about the same thing, but in this case, big thing to note here is the opacity is 0. That means it's a clear object. So let's go take a look at this. And here it is when I run it. This is the web page. It embeds the other web page in an iframe. Go back to the PowerPoint slides. If I can get the mouse to do that. Yes, over here, a little bit bigger. You can see that the original click victim HTML, which we showed just a minute ago, is there embedded in an iframe at a particular size. I turned off the border so you don't see it, so it doesn't appear as border. It just I also made the background of the attack web page the same color as the background of the victim web page. And then I have another link right here. Link goes to a different web page called, and it has, again, almost the same style, position so it fits on top. So when we look at that, right there, this in fact looks very much like the page we just looked on. But when we click over here, we say click for joy. No, it does not go to the Joyish website. It goes to the sorrow website. That's because when I click here, in fact, I am not clicking on the victim website button. There is an invisible button right over this, a button with the opacity of 0. That is, you can see right through it from the, oops, sorry, and when I click on it, I'm clicking on the attackers button that you don't see. That's overlaid exactly on top of this link. So when I click on it, I'm not clicking on my victim web page. I'm clicking on the attacker's web page, and you can see it goes to the same place, even though it looks like the same web page. And most of it is. The only thing I've overlaid, well, I added another comment down here so you can see that something's happening. But I put the link exactly in the same spot. And I made it, as you can see here. Okay, let's go back to, let's go back to PowerPoint. And yeah, the whole concept is that we're overlaying one web page on another, such that a particular link or button overlays another button. One of the things we also use, one of the features we also use, so let's just, hang on, we're going to change. Online people, stand by. We're going to change what we're sharing. Hopefully you can now see the screen, the whole screen.
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Okay. It's not always obvious what you're seeing and what we're seeing here in class. Okay. Opacity is a attribute that you can specify in a style of a particular HTML object. If you set the opacity to 1, which is the default, everything, but you don't specify it's got an opacity of 1, which means it's a solid opaque object. You cannot see through it. In my example here, blue is an opaque object. In other words, you cannot see through blue. Blue is on top of the red and the green, and you cannot see through it. If you set the opacity to something smaller, like in this example here, the green square has an opacity of 0.5. You can kind of see through it. You can see the red square behind it. The red square also has an opacity of 0.5, although there's nothing behind it to see. And so you can see through the green square. If you set the opacity to 0, it's invisible. That means none of it shows. So if it's 1, you see it, nothing else. If it's 0, you don't see it, you see right through it. It's invisible, it's transparent. And you could, of course, just put a number between 0 and 1. It's kind of nice to do neat features if you want to make something visible over something else. But if you set the 0, it's invisible. So if you put something that's invisible on top of an object on the other page, they don't see that you're clicking on the wrong thing. Okay, here's basically how an attack goes. Well, the attacker has to make a particular web page that they send to their victim. They somehow get the victim to click on their link, either email or on some other website. And so the attacker sends it. The victim clicks on it, thinking that they're going to go to the trusted website. In fact, though, it doesn't. It opens up the attacker's web page with the trusted web page embedded in it. So the trusted web page is there. Everything looks just like it should, because in fact it is the trusted web page. But when you click on something, you don't go to where you think you're going to go on the trusted web page. Instead, clicking on something sends you to the attacker's website. And the attacker's website does whatever the attacker wants to do. Once you click to go there, You were also at that time, of course, logged into the trusted web page. And it has the cookies and everything for that. Okay. There's another attribute that you can use for overlaying one web page on top of another, and that's the ZIndex. You've got the X and Y, obviously. Z is the position closest or farthest from you as the viewer. In this simple example, which I borrowed from this website down here, we have created three objects, a red, a green, and a blue box, and haven't done anything, just first red, first green, and first blue. So the red one is written first, and the green on top of it, and the blue on top of that. So this is how they would look, first red, then green, then blue. But in this example, we also create red, then green, then blue. But the red one has a higher Z-index. Objects with a bigger Z-index appear closer to you or on top of items with smaller Z-indexes. So in this case, the red one is an index of 3, the blue or the green 2, and the blue 1. And so the red is on top, the green in the middle, and the blue one, which is the lowest Z-index, is at the bottom. You can also set Z-indexes to be a negative number. So you have a whole range of where you can set them. So that's what it looks like. And then you can mix the opacity. It turns out that the Z-index is much more complicated than the simple number that positions it forward or back. It's adjusted by many things, including the opacity. If you set the opacity to anything but 1, then it goes to the back. No matter what the Z-index is, it's in the back. Also, if you go out and look on the web, there's all sorts of details about, well, if it's this, if it's that. So the Z-index more or less puts it on top, unless all the other issues are equal. So setting the opacity always puts it into the background. So if you set the opacity to 0.99, it's, to the human eye, it appears to be 1, it appears to be an opaque object. But then it will always go to the back. Okay. All right, so our first clicker question of the day. For those online, let's launch this question. And for those in our live studio audience here, let's get out your squares. Anybody lose their clicker square? Oh, you never got one, you poor soul. Lucky I have one left over. I got to print some extras. There. Have it. If you look around the edge, there's letters like A, B, C. You got to hold it up so I can see. Oh, I'm out. I'm out of. Okay. Hold it up. So if you think A is the answer, hold it up. So A, if you think.
Oh, so it's on top?
Yeah, so it's on top. And don't cover over all the black. Don't cover all the symbols with your fingers, because then no, it can't. Okay. And there's a cool app on my phone that can read those things. If I can get into my phone. Face recognition doesn't work with the masks. Okay. Click. All right. Oh, okay, you can see it. Everybody can see the questions. All right, then let's try it. You ready? Want you hold up your answers, please. And the button disappeared. Why is the button not there? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. I can see you. Okay, got you. And you can work with her. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, the folks online well, you can end the poll, show the results. You can see that folks online, there were 3 answer A's and 2 answer B's, and we were evenly split here in class with answers A and B. So it's A or B, which is actually, if you're a good student, you realize that it has to be answer A or B or none of the above. But it would be on top A if it is a larger Z value and no opacity specified. If you specify the opacity, it goes to the back. So the answer is A, no opacity. If you don't specify the opacity, which of course default to 1, then the bigger the Z value, the closer to on top, the closer it appears to you in a sense, and the other ones are behind it. If you set the opacity, oh, that's going to move it to the back. Anything but 1 will move it always to the back. So it's more complicated than it's. I don't know why they did that, but it's more complicated than it seems. Okay. Let's or is that okay? Yes. Clickjacking is out there on the web and it's been used in several attacks. Here's one only about 3 years ago. Yeah, about 3 years ago on Facebook. Facebook tries very hard to protect its users, but it doesn't always. And sometimes it doesn't try at all, but that's another issue. Yes, Facebook, one of the big tricks is to get somebody to like someone, particularly companies will put out ads and want you to like the company's page. And also, in fact, post the like on your Facebook wall so others will think that you're doing this all without your permission. And so there was a clickjack attack a couple years ago. Somebody wanted to go to a comics website. To do that, it would go to that website, but it would also post that company's information on your Facebook wall. And it was interesting because we'll talk about protections in just a minute. XFrame Options is one of the protections that you can use, and they used XFrame Options for desktops, laptops, but they didn't do it on mobile phones. So this problem occurred only on mobile phones, Android mobile phones to be exact. And why they didn't do it on Android mobile phones. And then when Facebook found out about it, they still didn't quite fix it 100%. Okay, another clicker question. So let's look at this. Let's get the online people to let's kill that one and try another poll if I can. Sorry, online people, that's not at all what I wanted to do. That was
I think there will be an arrow like on the top where the question is. So
oh, I see it. Yes, I see exactly what you're talking about. We'll get rid of this. And yes, there. Okay. Thank you. Okay, hopefully you can see it. Everybody can see the question online and in person?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, all right, we have got it. All right, everybody, after all my fumbling, you should easily have figured out the answer. So let's try it again. And come on. Presses the button. Oh, there it goes. Oh, all right. Sees them all. And boy, we're pretty mixed. The folks there in on the ether think the answer is D. We have 3 D's and 1 C. Here in class, we have a couple D's, a C, and a couple A's. Well, the answer is D. So of course, anybody who clicked anything else, in fact, it was correct. It's just there were more correct. Okay. When you do 2 web pages on display at the same time, you can easily put them side by side. You can put a part of one on top, you can overlap them in part, and you can put the whole thing on top of another. So the answer is D. You can rearrange them any way you like. All right. So okay, and let's talk about what you do about this. All right, there are multiple solutions. Okay, there's the page you want to be on. There are multiple solutions to try to protect a site against clickjacking. You can do it both in the browser or in the server. In the browser, the technique is called frame busting. Frame busting is a way to get out of an iframe if you think your program is in an iframe. In other words, when you write your page, say the victim page, when you write it, you can put in some JavaScript that says, I'm going to check to make sure I'm not in an iframe. If I am, I want to show myself or I'll do something to get out of it. There are also server techniques. There's something called XFrame Options and Content Security Posture. Let's talk about the frame busting first. Okay, frame busting, in this particular option, there are many ways to do it. It was interesting that this paper on frame busting looked at, several hundred websites that do frame busting and found that not almost, every one of them could be defeated. In other words, even though they thought they were going to get themselves out of frames, it didn't always work. And the author thought that this technique was probably the most likely to work. And it's pretty interesting. Okay, first thing is you set the visibility to hidden. In other words, when the page first loads, it's clear, the page is blank, it's hidden. Now, because of course it runs at the speed of your computer doing things in nanoseconds, you don't really, if it all goes well, you don't see this. But otherwise, it's a blank page. And then it checks as well. Is the document element style, is it visible? Or excuse me, am I on the top? If I am on the top, then I'll make sure it's visible. As I change the visibility from hidden to visible, and voila, you see the page as you expect to. Otherwise, it puts itself on the top. Okay, let's give this a shot. And again, hang on there out in Zoom land. I'm going to change the screen sharing. We're back. Okay. Let's see, I've got a couple pages. I've got a happy website, which is there. This is a happy website. Oops, that's actually, there's my happy website. Yes, the happy website, same thing. It's in gold in the background. It is a very simple website. Now here we will, but I can then click check the happy one. If I do that, the happy website is now embedded in an iframe, and you can see because I changed the colors of everything and left the border that yes, it's embedded because the happy website was very simple. Let's real briefly see if we can't look at the happy website. That's not behaving. I'm sorry. The concept of a left click usually works on this thing. No, it's not working today. Okay, we might never know. Oh, but wait. Okay, I'll just copy the happy one, and here it is. And you can't read that because it's awful small. You zoom. If I had a mouse, I could do that, couldn't I? And a num key, I could do that too. I never like laptops. Okay, you can more or less, no, you can't. You can't see that with darn. One more try here. A slider to do this. This is just so clumsy. So I'll just click on it. All right, you can barely read that now, but this is the website. Very simple. Very, it's just a title, no style in there. Background is gold. Now, I have a version of that that's safe from Clickjacking. Happy Safe, there it is. And there's the Happy Safe, which is almost the same, different color, but it has the script here, the same script that we showed in the slides, and it also appeared in the style, sets the index. So now, if I just look at the websites, they both look, here's Happy Safe, it, come on, it looks the same thing as the Happy one. There's Happy Safe, different colors, otherwise it's the same. But if I go over here to Click Happy, that one will embed in the website, you know that. But if I try to do the Click Happy Safe, this is an execution of the Clickjack attempt on the Happy Safe, the one that has the script, and it's busted out of the frame. It, with the unprotected screen, the original website is now embedded in the blue. You can see it there as a square, but with the Happy one, the one that had the script that was in the slides, that one will not go into a frame. In other words, it does the frame busting. It displays itself outside of the frame, and the frame is not visible. In fact, if you look at the, I can get back, page source, you see only the page source of the Happy website, not the attack. So it's dropped that one. Okay, good enough. Everybody see that? That's a very simple example of protecting yourself. And again, it's done through this job. And that's the frame busting. Back to the slides. They are, yeah, and that is okay, there we go. And we're going to share again so you can see the, okay, hopefully the online folks are seeing the slides.
Yes, Professor.
The whole slides, and okay. Oh, that was weird. Okay, and so that's now there are other ways. That again, frame busting is a browser side protection. It's HTML that runs in the browser to protect you from that web page being put into an iframe. So if it was put into an iframe, then you can break it out. Another way to do it, there are two ways. There's HTTP headers called the XFrame Options. It's a little older than the other one I will speak to in just a few minutes. They're almost similar, but this has kind of been superseded by content. Well, it's not just that. This is but this seems to do. This is an extra. Now this is an HTTP header option. It's sent from the server in the HTTP headers, so it's not visible directly by the JavaScript. It's not visible to the user at all. It's in the headers along with all the other options that might be specified. And XFrame Options has three, XFrame Options colon, and then there are three possible values: deny, same origin, or allow from given URL. If it's deny, that says this page cannot be embedded in another page. Now, this is enforced by the browsers. There's HTTP frame options. There's information sent from the server to the browser saying rules for displaying this page. And if you say deny, this page cannot be embedded in another page. It's not to do that. If you say same origin, well, you can embed it in a page, but only if you're embedding it in a page that comes from the same server. So if you go out to acme.com and get a page, another page on acme.com, you can embed that one, but you can't embed it from any place else. It has to be from the same server. Now, if you want to embed it in another server that's not yours, but you want to allow that one, you can specify the particular URL that may embed that. In other words, you have the allow from, and then you specify the URL that may embed this. So, some other website wants to embed it, you can put it there. So that's pretty clear. It's the same options. And again, this comes in the HTTP headers. Oh, and one more of my silly examples. Okay, hang on here, folks, we're going back. You can see the screen. I have the someplace. Okay. Here is a website where I have embedded my class website, the williams.com.ncat.edu comp 725 website inside a page here. And it embeds it because my web server does not send the X options. But if you go here, in this example here, well, I'm going to embed Google in there. Google says no. And if we go here, let's take a look at the, go to the Chrome debugger, or and you notice there's in here in the console, there's an error, which you can't, of course, read because it's even hard for me to read. It says, refuse to display HTTPS www.google.com in a frame because it set XFrame options to same origin. In other words, you can embed a Google page inside a Google page, but you can't embed it in another page. So Google site set the XFrame options, which my website does not, and therefore, when you try to embed it in the frame, it gives you the sad message there. Google refused to connect. Okay, so it doesn't work that way. Back to the slides. This is, and the screen, folks. Let's see. There it is. Hopefully you can see the screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Then another way to, excuse me. Yes, another way to, for the server to protect the site against clickjacking is to use content security policy, or CSP. It's very similar to XFrame options. It's newer and obsoletes the XFrame options directive. So it's a little bit newer version. It's more comprehensive than XFrame options. It does a whole bunch of things in addition to the XFrame options. It has several features. The feature that is called frame ancestors is very much like XFrame options. And it can be used to allow or disallow the embedding of content, putting things into iframes. There are several different options to XFrame. They're very similar to content security policy using the frame ancestors attribute allows you to set things almost identical to XFrame options. And here, if you set content security policy frame ancestors to none, none has to be in quotes, by the way, then it works just like the XFrame. You cannot embed this page in another one. It must be displayed by its own only. And then if you specify this frame ancestors to self, then very much like the same origin with XFrame options, it will do it only in that page. Or you can say, I want to set it in a particular website. In other words, I will allow it to be embedded in this. You can actually give a list of URLs here. I've specified Wikipedia, but you can say, yes, this page can be embedded in Wikipedia or others. So you can give it it's called a whitelist, a list of happy sites that are allowed to display this. And again, but this is a more modern version of XFrame options. Obviously, therefore, if you're developing a site, you should use content security policies instead of XFrame options because it's newer and the other one may disappear. There are other things you can do with CSP, content security policies. It has a whole list of them, about a dozen different things you can specify. Here are 3 others besides the frame ancestry. You can say image source. You can say, where can images be loaded? You can say, images can only be loaded by specific URLs. You can give a list again. And any image pictures the website is going to load can only come from that directory. We talked before of cross-site scripting problems related to getting images from other sites. This can help fix that. The base URI being universal resource identifier, specifies that any relative URLs. That is URLs that don't specify the whole, they don't start with www.acme.com. They start with just a file name. They'll always put this URI in front of ours. They'll append them together. So that's so web pages or any access to a relative URI, anything with just a file name, maybe even a directory and file name, it'll put this in front of it. So it always comes from that website and that directory. And there's a form action one that specifies where forms can go to. You can't just send forms to anywhere. You have to send them to these particular sites. So that's clickjacking. Again, clickjacking is caused by putting one website on top of another, so you can't see it. And the examples out there, you saw them work. There is a very related issue called cursorjacking. Cursorjacking is when you can change the pointer of the cursor. Now, I'm not exactly sure how that's done. It's out there on some websites, not covered very clearly. Dr. Yuan's slides had nothing on cursorjacking, but her questions had stuff on cursorjacking. Yes, quiz 13 had cursorjacking questions, but there's nothing on the website, nor is there anything in the book about it. So I thought I'd include something just to make you happy. Cursorjacking is when you change the pointer. So you change the pointer to look, you going out, if you don't like seeing the little arrows, you can change that to something else. A lot of people have all sorts of fingers and other things that you can have for your cursor. The cursorjacking sets it to a large cursor such that it's usually wider than the usual, with the arrow drawn way off from the action point. The action point, when you click, it takes the action point as where you are clicking. Well, now the arrow that is displayed is not on the action point. The arrow is someplace else. Here's an example in the image I have here, where the user is pointing to B. The arrow is pointing to B, but that's not really where they're pointing with the mouse. The mouse is on top of A. So if you click, you think you're clicking on B, but in fact, it will click on A because that's where the action point of the click is. The image of the arrow is someplace else. So that's clickjacking, or excuse me, cursorjacking. Cursorjacking, where you change the cursor so it looks like you're clicking someplace else. And I didn't see any techniques for defending against that. I'm actually amazed you can do it in the first place. Okay, well, I went right through that today. Excuse me. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about cloud security. And that is not covered in our textbooks because the textbooks were written before the cloud became a big thing. Yeah, the textbooks are kind of old. So there's nothing about cloud security. I thought I should mention it. So I will be I'll talk about cloud security on Wednesday. The quiz is out there. There's this quiz 13. Now, again, I rearranged things, but I didn't change, just to confuse you, I didn't change the numbers. So we're going, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. We'll come back with 12, 11 and 12. Anyway, we'll come back with the ones that was sequentially ordered. And so we're doing 13 right now. So that's it. Anybody have any questions? All right. Well, I went through it faster than I expected.
Professor, is the unit 13 online or like it's available on Blackboard or?
Yes, if you go to Blackboard, unit 13 comes after.
Oh, yes, I can see. Yep.
It's visible now. I think I've edited all things. Hopefully all the dates and everything are correct. That, of course, if somebody notices a date that's incorrect, do let me know. I'll try to make sure that it is corrected. I'm going back over Dr. Yuan's stuff, and the dates are, well, even without my rearranging it, the dates are often wrong. So
Yeah, so the date says 15 November, but like it's 14 November, I think everybody can
It should be
understand.
the 7th of November. I will go out and change that. Yes, you've got, as usual, till next Sunday to do it.
All right, so it's 7th, okay.
7th, yes, I'll go out and change that. Sorry, take back 1 week. Well, that's better than having it due last week, which some of them were. Okay, so any further questions about that? Thank you for mentioning that. I will make sure the dates are adjusted.
All right, and can you please enable that quiz 10 responses?
Excuse me, I couldn't hear what you said.
Quiz 10 responses that we
Oh, yes.
cannot see.
The
Yeah.
quiz that we just did, I will
Yeah, yes,
put
yes.
the responses out there. I thought they had responses, but sometimes Blackboard isn't as easy to use as you'd like. I have to make sure that all the multiple choice, multiple answer ones had negative scores for the, anyway, so you don't end up with answering everything and you always get it right. I fixed that, but okay, and I will go out and make sure. Quiz 10 should be done. That was due yesterday, I think. Yes, so I'll just put the answers out there to make sure everybody has the answers. Okay. Oh, you can always look at the quiz again. You can look at it as many times as you like. You just can't, only the first time counts. I'll get the TA to grade that and we'll put the answers, make sure the answers are available. Okay. So I'll make the answers available to 10 and I'll make sure that quiz 13's deadline is due to next Sunday, November 7th. And as a reminder, the week before Thanksgiving, again, those of you in the live studio audience, I'm not going to be here. I suggest you not show up yourself, but we will have class online. Okay, so that's it for now. Unless there's any more questions, we'll just call it quits early, and that's it.
All right, thank you very much.